We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Master Your Life, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining host and her guests give practical advice that you can use every day in the quest to master your life. Now, here's your host, Leaha Mattinson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Master Your Life. I'm so excited to have on today as my guest, Serena Robella. Serena, I've been chasing you around for several weeks because I'm so darn excited to talk to you. Can you say hi to everybody today?
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So, I've interviewed people over the past 5 years on my podcast that have come from a wide range of educational backgrounds, health history, financial awesomeness, or decimation, all different kinds of guests. But the reason I wanted to have you on today is because you've had a very interesting journey with health that I think can be so helpful to other people if they can tune in and listen to actually the things that you've gone through, things that you've learned about how to take care of your health and well-being, Serena.
Yes, of course. As we discussed earlier, me and my family, or my family and I, we all have autoimmune. So when I joined Therapeutic Solutions team, I was actually very happy and I was very interested to learn more. And honestly, it was very cool to experiment specifically with somebody who actually has problems. So just a little background, I have 𝙏𝙗𝙤𝙪𝙩 and getting tested for lupus. My mom has lupus and the lupus is attacking her liver, which is really bad. And then my grandpa has rheumatoid arthritis, which, his hands right now look like this, like it just completely, and it's painful all over. And the products have definitely, my parents are always skeptical, so they only take a certain types of products, but I have taken everything that TSOI makes, and I have seen a huge improvement in my life specifically. As you know, Quotable was actually going through a clinical trial during COVID about the prevention of COVID-19. And I took Quotable every day, and I still do. And first of all, I noticed better cognitive function, and I felt like healthier, which, when you have autoimmune, that's a big plus because you're always tired. You're always feeling fuzzy in the brain. You just never feel good. So that was a plus. And then I got exposed to COVID-19 multiple times and I, thank God, knock on wood, also never got it. And I think I generally believe, I don't know science. I can't say, because I wasn't part of the trials, I can't say it was that prevented me from getting it, but I really do believe it had something to do with boosting my immune system to help fight it off.
Right. Wonderful. Let's talk about where you live, your age, because some people will be tuning in and see you and maybe will still not actually know how old you are and how old your mom and your grandfather are.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's good.
I live in La Jolla, which is on the beach in San Diego, and I am 24. My mom is, I think, 53 or 50. She was born in 1968. That's 53. There we go. And then my grandpa was born in 41. I think he's like about almost 80 now.
Yes.
I never remember the actual numbers. I just remember.
Okay, that's okay. Ballpark is good. I just want to give people a frame of reference for context. And how old were you when you started being unwell?
Sorry, what?
How old were you when you started to be unwell? Like, when did you start to notice, or your mom start to notice that you really weren't well?
So funny part about that. So my grandpa, he got rheumatoid arthritis, and all his problems started around 60 years old.
Okay.
And then my mom started around 30 years old. And then I started around, I want to say 18 years old. So it's kind of every generation kind of cut in half a little bit. So I unfortunately have been dealing with this at a younger age than them, which has really impacted my life and what I could do. Unlike, other people my age that are able to do everything, I am not. So
talk about that a bit more, because I think, again, it's like the audience it's getting this understanding of how young these diseases are happening, and like how much unwellness is in the body, and really how it does affect your life, because it's this insidious little funny thing. When we start to lose our health and wellness, we make concessions for it, and we go, oh, well, that's okay. It doesn't really matter that I can't do this because this is just the hand that was dealt to me. But so what would have been some of the things that would have started changing for you that would be not the same as people who are well?
I mean, for example, just something as simple. I mean, something as simple as the sun. If I go out in the sun, it actually makes me sick. Like if I am exposed too long to the sun, and my mom also, and my grandpa too, but my grandpa could deal with it a little bit better, but my mom and I will literally be sick for days after. It's almost like sun sickness or something. And that's actually a part of autoimmune is sun sensitivity. And I mean, while everybody else is going to the beach, I can't necessarily, or I have to wait till the afternoon when it's not as bad, or even something as fun, like, there's music festivals and or parties at nighttime, or going to the bar, the clubs. If I overexert my body too much, I will be done for days. So sometimes I have to only go out for maybe a couple hours, or if I am going out, I have to make sure I'm sitting down and I get back at a time where I'm not going to bed like at 4 a.m, But most people my age can go all night, or they could go for days, because this is the age, to have fun, but I can't do that. And in fact, I did do that around 18 to 20 years old. And I think it honestly made me worse. Like I overexerted myself too much. And I think it actually made my autoimmune worse.
Yeah.
So,
and I think you're speaking to so many people here, Serena, because we see with, the scientific evidence is that people are more unwell earlier on. And in fact, some people are never well. They're born into this world in an unwell little body. And so it's important to understand that what would be normal is that you would be energetic at this time in your life, excited about your life, that you'd have good energy and vitality, that you'd have good mobility and flexibility, good stamina, and that those things are all robbed. At this point. They're gone, and that it changes your life experience. And those are very significant things, because the things that you do when you're sitting up all night in a coffee shop is you're imagining with your friends how your future is going to be, like those kinds of things. So it's where all the good, juicy, creative energy is taken away.
And I think it, as you said too, it doesn't even matter at a young age. It could be any age. We're all robbed of something. Like even my mom at her age, like being able to get up and do errands and chores and stuff, it can sometimes get hinged by her autoimmune. And, people at her age should be able to at least go do errands and stuff. Maybe, maybe at 50, you're not really partying as much, like going out all night for days, but you should be able to do certain things. But, that gets hinged a lot. And, I think the important thing that I've learned personally is I've accepted, because it used to make me cry and feel depressed, is I've accepted that I'm different than most people. And you have to make sure that, for the audience that might be struggling with the same thing, you have to make sure that you're doing what's best for you. Yeah. And you have to find people that accept it and help you. Like I have a group of friends that knows my condition and knows that I can only do certain things, and they're very supportive. They're very accepting, and they don't make me feel bad if I miss something. Of course, they always want me there, but you know, they're like, okay, you know, we're going to the beach, but they know, even they're like, come towards sunset, like we'll be here, or just we'll be here for a couple hours at this bar, like come at least for a couple hours and then, you know, go home and rest. Very supportive, very great, makes me feel very good. And then also too, when you're dating somebody, especially like my age, like, you know, you're going to want to find somebody that accepts you for you. Like my girlfriend, thankfully, she is so understanding of things. And in fact, she's kind of a homebody anyways, just like me. So it works out perfectly. But, you know, you don't want to be with someone that pressures you to do stuff that overexerts your body, because you know what? I think autoimmune might be one of the worst diseases because it's blind. You don't notice, like when I'm walking down the street, you don't notice that I'm sick. You wouldn't know that I feel like horrible inside, but because I look normal, I don't, you know, with cancer, you could kind of tell, and, you know, your hair falls out, but with autoimmune, it sucks because you don't know that people have it until they say, I mean, Selena Gomez too, for example, you wouldn't know she had it because she's gorgeous and she's singing and, you know.
Yeah. Yes, I do. And I think the important points out of that are that find people who accept you, but who also want what's best for you and who have their eyes to the horizon of what's possible for you also. Because there are ways of healing and getting your body to be better than it was. But if you're stuck in a generational story where the family thinks that you're going to be sick and it's all gloom and doom, that's not good. When we know that there's all of these other exciting things coming on the horizon, you know, because I'm very, I think people with post-traumatic stress disorder and concussion can completely relate to what you're talking about, where the disease is invisible. People with Huntington's disease also, people who have suicide ideation also can totally relate, because you're not walking down the street with a sign that says, hey, it's like today, my cognitive function isn't that awesome and my impulse control is like really sucks, right? Or this moment it does. Or because you just don't. Whereas people who've got the cancer diagnosis have lots of support groups in place. And, you know, it's like you call up your friends and say the C word, and then all of a sudden it's like everyone's scurrying around to help because they know what to do. Also, they know how to rally. But with stuff like autoimmune, because it's so elusive, like multiple sclerosis, also very elusive, you know, so there is all of these sort of elusive diseases of the body that are hidden and that it's hard to get support. So what have you done to try to not just get a great partner or have a great partner and manage your lifestyle, but what else have you said you've been experimenting with some nutraceuticals. How did that come to into play? How did you meet these people? Where did they come from?
Well, actually, my girlfriend, I actually met her. I got invited to a party that happened to be at her house. So, and then I just was very lucky enough to meet her like that. But my friends, you know, I'd say a couple of years ago, I had this huge group of friends. Like I had like 50 people I would invite everywhere. And now I have about 3 to 5 people I invite everywhere, because the thing is, I started filtering out the toxic people and the people that were not helping me feel better. Yes. So, I mean, I'd say a lot is not, I didn't actively search. It's more, it came to me and I filtered out what was coming to me. So, and it's important to trust yourself and your gut and your feelings on people, you know. But again, I was very lucky to have my girlfriend, and I'm very lucky to have my friends I do right now, because they're the best people. My best friend, Max Milford, and I have a friend, Natalia. I say Max Milford because he's he just kind of have to say his full name.
Right. It's like I have a friend, Glennis Falloon. Saying her name is like singing a tune.
Oh yeah, my girlfriend Whitney Nunez. Sorry, she was on the side over here. She's like, why didn't you say my name?
Right, Whitney. Say my name. It's been said. It's been said and recorded. So it is fun to actually, kind of curate your own life. That's what Master Your Life is all about, is curating your own life and curating that high frequency vibration of living a healthy, happy life where you're grounded, rooted, open-minded, clear-hearted. It's hard to do that sometimes in a body that's compromised. So I know that I'm 53 years old also. And so more than 10 years ago now, I got my genetic status for Huntington's and was basically told that I was going to have all kinds of crazy symptoms, that I'm symptom free. But around 2020, December, November, I was starting to think cognitively, I wasn't feeling the same as I had been in the past. So my speed of thinking, of processing things was kind of off a little bit. So what I immediately did is how can I solve this? And then all of a sudden, it's like these teachers appear in your life or resources appear in your life when you ask for something that you need. Have you found that to be the case for you, Serena?
Yeah, oddly enough, TSOI kind of walked into my life like right at the time when I was just really suffering, not only with anxiety from the pandemic, because I'm deathly afraid of getting sick. And I didn't used to be like that, but short little story. I got so sick I never get sick because with autoimmune, it's weird. I don't get sick, but when I do, it's really bad. But I got the flu in the January of 2020, and I literally almost died. My fever was 106. I passed out in the car on the way to the hospital. I had like 2 IVs to each arm. It was just awful. And ever since then, and then the pandemic came, and then the pandemic came and I was mortified. So TSOI walked into my life, basically. And I got introduced to, Tim Dixon, and I was very interested in the science. Tim, I think he's been on the show.
Tim's been on the show. Yes.
He can go for hours but the thing is, it's interesting. Like you want to listen, and you can, and he really just explains how this stuff works very well. And it makes you feel safe because you're like, oh, I'm taking that. Okay, cool.
Right.
But yeah, I was going to say, you asked me what I do to like help my autoimmune and stuff. I'm going to be real with you. I'm actually horrible in doing things that are supposed to be better for me. Like I should be exercising. I should be eating better, like on a very strict diet. I should be taking more supplements. But lately I haven't really had the time to exercise or, eating better is actually very hard because you have to have time to prepare it and stuff. And I sometimes just don't even have time for that. But at the very least, I'm still taking all my TSOI products every day. So that's at least what I'm doing.
I think millions of people can relate to that. So let's talk specifically about what you're taking, because when people have called me and say, Leah, what did you take or what do you take? I said, when I was symptomatic or thought I was symptomatic in last fall, I went on the nanostilbene. So I'll hold it up for people who are watching. They can actually see it's a cute little purple box. But I went on that because I thought I needed something that was going to resolve the symptoms, what I call symptoms, and then stayed on that for a course of a couple of bottles, so 80 days. And then I went on to Quadrimune. And so when people say, what specifically do I do to keep myself well? Those are the things therapeutically around nutraceuticals that I take right now. So what did you do, or what do you do now? Has it changed?
No. So I take every day personally. I take I don't take Projuvenal, but I do have Projuvenal. I take nanostilbene and Quadrimune every day. It really just helps my everyday function. And I forgot it on my trip this last weekend, so I need to take it today because I feel fuzzy already, and that helps with the fuzziness for sure in your brain. And especially too, like Whitney, for example, she started getting like a sniffle and like was kind of feeling sick, and she like doubled up on her. Well, I don't advise like you'd have to ask Tim if that's okay. But Whitney had doubled up on her quads for the day. Like she took one in the morning took some in the morning and took a dose at night.
Right.
And next day she felt a lot better, like no sniffle, and she felt completely fine. So, sometimes you can use it even just to keep you safe immune wise. And, me personally, since I've taken this stuff, I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't gotten a cold or anything. I haven't gotten anything. And usually this is the time of the year where you get colds or something. So, that's what I take every day. ProJuvenile is a great product. And the reason why, I don't take it, I should, but what it's really good for is cognitive function, and it's anti-aging. I think maybe it's the anti-aging that makes me not take it, because I'm like, I'm still pretty young. I mostly give ProJuvenile like to my mom or my grandparents, because I'm like, I could take it and I probably should, but I'm like, the anti-aging kind of is like, you guys need it more than I do.
Right.
So
You're so young. You're so young. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And then what I use and my whole family uses is called 𝙇𝙞𝙩𝙩𝙡𝙚. It's this spray where it has worked better than any pain pill, any cream, arthritis cream. So funny story about my grandpa with this stuff. So my grandpa with the crippling rheumatoid arthritis,
for 20 years.
For 20 years. Yeah. For a few months ago, he was using his walker because he was in so much pain. That's when he has to use his walker, when it just gets so bad that he needs help getting around. And I was telling him, I have this stuff, this spray, this from my company that I work for. I was like, do you want to use some? And he's like, oh, that crap doesn't work. Like, because, he's just anything besides what he knows, he usually dismisses it. But I'm like, can I just please try it on you? And then he's like, yeah, fine, it's not going to work, but fine. And I sprayed his back and I went back to my room. 10 minutes later, literally 10 minutes later, he walks in without his walker. And he's like, what did you spray on my back? And I was like, the stuff from TSOI. Yeah. And he's like, I need a bottle of that. But he literally was off his walker and standing up straight again after I sprayed his back, because what it does is it goes right into it absorbs right into your skin, and the just really helps.
Yes. And if anyone wants to check out the intel on this stuff, you can come to the masteryourlife.ca website on the Stuff I Love page and look up therapeutic solutions under Community Shield, and all the products are listed there with all of their specific remedies. But I wanted to really highlight this story of your grandfather, because he's been suffering for a very long time with all of this pain, and to not be able to get up out of bed. You're not doing anything that's normal at that point. You can't eat meals with people. You can't go out for walks with anybody. Your pain is so bad that you can't just communicate with people, because all you're thinking about is, how am I going to manage this pain for the day? And so it's very isolating. And the isolation, I think, is what kills us more than anything else.
Exactly. And like I said, I'm home a lot, and thankfully I have my girlfriend with me all the time. If not, the isolation would really get to me.
Yeah. And you're a student, right? A full-time student right now, Serena? Is that, or?
Yes. Yeah. And, also too, with the pandemic, you're on Zoom meetings for school. So, you're very isolated, at least when you're in class, when you get to go to school, and in class, you get to talk to people before and after class, and, at least have some social interaction. But with Zoom, you're only there for the professor, and then all of a sudden it's done. You don't really get much social interactions from the class, at least.
Right. So. Yes. And we do take a lot of energy from one another, or we get a lot of energy from one another when we're vibrationally in the same place, and electronically, it just doesn't translate the same. So absolutely 100% would agree with that. Would you say that the products have helped you with your studying? Like what is it you're taking in school?
Oh, I'm on the way to pursue my mathematics degree.
Yes. So mathematics degree, which probably requires that most of your brain is functioning.
Yeah, for sure.
It's helpful.
Has to be a little bit there at least.
That's right. That's right. And I think a lot of people dismiss when their brain function isn't that great. So they'll go, I get this from a lot of people. When I forget something, I'll go, well, I don't remember, whatever. And they'll say, oh, that's normal. And I say, it's not normal for me. It's not normal for me to forget stuff. I need to remember things, passwords, how to set up a Zoom meeting, how to send invitations to people, how to, just how to take care of little people. There's lots of things to remember. And so and that we're responsible to remember. And it's not just an old brain that struggles with these things. It's brains that are compromised by a lot of the things that are in our food or in our environments. And the stressors that have been put on, because of the COVID shenaniganifest, we'll call it, for, all of 2020 and that carrying on. Our body isn't meant to actually be taking all of that cortisol dumping all the time. And so the hormones of fear and that whole fight flight have been activated very consistently for well over a year now. And so here you are, little student at 24 years old, trying to get through your mathematics degree. And that in and of itself is a challenge because you're neurologically trying to learn something new. And then you're trying to apply it in your real life. And so millions of people can relate to that because there's not just people who are going back to school and finishing their degrees. There's people who are, going back decades later trying to get their degrees or their masters or their doctorates, and they're struggling because their brain function isn't that great. So have you found when you've taken the nutraceuticals from Therapeutic Solutions from Community Shield that your neurological function has been better?
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, like I said, it at least gives me that. I also have ADHD too, by the way. So it at least gives me enough, like I'm at a very bad level of everything. Like my energy's at the lowest, my brain function the lowest. And I think it's really helped me at least get me through my class, get me through my days. Like it helps me pass the finish line for sure. And another thing too is like sometimes people expect, I'd like to say this too, because some people tell me certain things, and if you're already healthy, like I think sometimes the way I describe it, people are like, well, I didn't feel much difference. But see, when you're at the ground level like me, you feel the difference. Like you really feel the difference. But a person who's like normal health might not feel it, but it's doing a lot for you at a cellular level. But your body's already okay. So you're not really going to notice the difference, but it's really doing a lot for you cellular level. But someone with autoimmune or any type of health issue will notice a difference, in my opinion, because everybody who I know that's healthy doesn't necessarily feel it, but everybody who's unhealthy, like actually feels it. But I think the products that you could buy from Community Shield, I think they are great for healthy and unhealthy people. Because if you're healthy, it's going to make you even healthier. If you're unhealthy, it's going to help you. It's going to help you you need as much help as you can. And it at least gives you something. And it really helps me with my daily life. And I don't know what I'd do without it. So I'm just lucky I work with them. So I get to be in on all of that.
Right. And it is exciting because there's patents coming out all the time, new patents being taken out. Yes, go ahead and speak to that.
I was going to say, like, for example, on the 𝙠𝙤𝙤𝙩 cells, stem cells, I don't know if you saw in the news post, the phase 3 just got approved by the FDA, which is super exciting. Like there's new things coming out all the time. In fact, I'm actually wearing a Elk City, Idaho. This is where our new headquarters are. And finally, when the lab gets finished up there, what's going to happen is the nano stilbene is going to be made by the natural river that flows through. It'll be made by good old American natural water. There won't be no more from a water that's, it's obviously I think now
Purified.
purified water, but like, well, obviously it'll be purified from the river, but that's where it'll be from good old Idaho, Elk City, Idaho.
Love it. Everyone look that up on your Google map.
Yeah, it's a small little town that's all the people are apparently really cool and nice. And, you know, it's just what they portray in the movie is America. Like that's kind of what it looks like there, you know? So very excited for that. I can't wait to go up there when it's all finished.
Right.
So
love it. And so working with the company, have you heard stories of successful treatments of concussion? Because I know a lot of people are interested in that also.
I was just about to say, yes, actually nanostilbene is actually used for people with concussion. Tim, I think there's some news articles about that somewhere. And Tim definitely works with that. And then for suicide, actually Campbell Neurosciences uses Quotable for the treatment of suicidal thoughts. So it's very versatile. And I'd say pterostilbene is in all the products, and pterostilbene is that one like holy ingredient that really just helps everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of research and articles online about that in regards to the company.
Yeah. And again, if people want to find out more about that, you can come to the masteryourlife.ca website, go to the Stuff I Love page, go to Community Shield tab, and there it'll have all of the links to the patents that have been taken out on the products, and it's always up to date. So for any of that new intel, you can come right there. And it is interesting because a lot of people want the science. You know, for those of us who have been under the threat of not being well, we'll take anything. It's like, oh yeah, let me try it because I want to make sure that I head this thing off at the pass, whatever it is, I don't want to have it. And so we'll take stuff and then we'll feel better versus having to be sold stuff. You know, it's like, oh, you got to prove it to me that it's going to work or whatever. It's like, no, I want to be well now ahead of it. I don't want to actually feel the symptoms of thinking suicidal thoughts. I don't want those. I know parents who don't put their kids into sports because they don't want their kids to get concussed doing things. But that said, a lot of people do put their kids into sports. September is coming and it's football month coming up everywhere around the world. And everyone's, you know, couple of the most highly searched things on Google. I think number 2 and 5 both have to do with buying football equipment. And I immediately thought, wow, it's like there's this whole population of people who need to know about Quotable, in particular in terms of the treatment of concussions. And we've talked about concussions on podcasts with Tim Dixon. So you, again, can just come to the masteryourlife.ca website and to the Regenerate and Rejuvenate tab, and those interviews will be there with Tim and with Steve Scholl. But let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to get ahead of it. What does it cost you when you're not feeling well, Serena? What do you think you miss out on from your perspective?
I mean, I miss out on everything. I miss out on life. I miss out on going out of the house. Honestly, anything that requires you going out of the house, that's what I miss out on. So life, basically. Yeah. And if I don't have at least something to help me get out of the house, then I'm missing out on that.
Yeah. And that's not life. That's not living. So how about for your mom? Would she say, can you speak for your mom at all? Would you be able to report what your mom thinks she's missed out on with dealing with her?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, she can only do so much. I mean, she can't be in the sun. So, you know, even when she goes to the grocery store, it's so funny because I don't know if you've ever heard of 𝙬𝙤𝙪𝙩. They're for sun sensitive people, it's like gloves, a big hat, and like this like special jacket, but she'll like rush from the car to the store. I mean, it's like even just that little sun moment,
right?
It's like she has to rush into the non-sun. So, I mean, you know, that again, that's not a fun way to live where you have to worry about something.
No, and I can't even imagine that because your mom and I are the same age. We were born in the same year. And I cannot even imagine trying to function with that kind of gear on because I've got these grandchildren, that I take care of a lot. It's like, how would I ever get them from a vehicle into a grocery store if I was trying to battle with sun gear? Like it would be a complete life changer.
And it's something so simple that many people probably don't understand. Or, the worst part is when people think, we're being dramatic about it, but it's really not dramatic. And my mom specifically, she gets like rashes from the sun. I thankfully don't get that. In fact, Whitney actually makes fun of me because it's like I don't tan either. If I'm in the sun for a long period of time, it's like my skin's like, oh my God, vitamin D. But because I don't get vitamin D much,
right.
And but I feel sick afterwards. Like I need to sleep, I need to rest, I feel nauseated, it's just horrible.
Yeah. And I have close family members who have this, so I'm just lucky I don't, or whatever has happened in my genetics that I don't have it. But absolutely, we have family members that have that same sun sensitivity. And I lived in the Okanagan, which is, like San Diego for Canada. It's beautiful, hot weather, and they could not live there. There's no way. They wouldn't be able to function at all. So where we live in Alberta, Canada, is actually a better environment typically for living, because it's just a little bit cooler. There's only a couple of warm months and then it sort of cools off. It's much more temperate here. Yes. So it is more bearable and their life is more enjoyable. And so, yeah, they would not choose to live somewhere where it's hot. So I completely send love to your mom, because that's a tough one. And hopefully, so is there any sign that these nutraceuticals can actually help to reverse some of this stuff, or are they doing studies about it still, Serena?
Yeah, in nanostilbene, if you look on what it helps, it actually does help against UV protection, which is probably why I have been able to go out, like I said, in the sun just a little bit more, because my mom doesn't take nano, I take nano. And if the audience doesn't know, nanostilbene, I'd say it's the best in my opinion, because of the nanoparticles, it makes the bioavailability of the product better, which means, for those who don't know, it means when you take nanostilbene, it's absorbing right into your bloodstream, like as much as can possibly be, versus when you take pills, sometimes only a certain percentage goes into your bloodstream and the rest gets digested. So I love nanostilbene for the fact that it just really just gets in you. So, and that's what I would say. It does help everything. There's little things that, now that we're talking about, there's little things that I realize it does help with, even the sun. I have been able to at least be in the sun a little bit, just a little bit though. I can't overdo it, but has helped.
But it'll be curious to see a year from now, for example, if you were taking that and doing your own, because I've been my own guinea pig the whole way along of dealing with this Huntington's disease, right? So it's like, I'm always experimenting, and so with the nanostilbene, what I went is I felt symptomatic, which means I feel like my cognition isn't quite right. So I started on the Quotable, and then I read a bit more about the nanostilbene and interviewed Tim and went, no, I need to be on that. I got on that and went, oh, wow. It's like I could tell the difference within about 12 days. I found money because my memory was restored. So I went, oh my gosh, I remember right? It's crazy. And I run a business. So people who are entrepreneurs or business owners, or you're responsible for other people who are living around you. Like I have grandchildren that I'm responsible for, that I am responsible. Like we have a swimming pool in the backyard. If something happened to one of them because my cognition isn't right, I would never be able to live with myself. So I've always been thinking, how do I get out ahead of this neurological stuff? So this balancing of the brain gut biome, I did that, 12 years ago through a really strict ketogenic diet. And I was very successful and felt like $1 million, but no one could stand to be around me because I was living this very weird lifestyle. So that, I bumped along the way, trying out this thing, trying out that thing. And then, and still trying to be tolerable, because people have to be able to tolerate to be around you also. So that when the nanostilbene came across my radar, I went, no, I'm going to give this a real go and see if it really does make a difference. Because in the 5 years that I've had this podcast and the 30 years that I've been a coach, I've never sold or marketed any nutraceutical products, because I think a lot of them are snake oil, and including weight loss stuff, because I was 100 pounds overweight when I was 30 years old, and I lost the 100 pounds and have kept it off, but not doing protein shakes. So I have not promoted any of them. So it was a very serious thing for me to go professionally. Okay, I'm actually going to talk about how great these products are, because my name is on this baby. Mm-hmm. And so I just went, are they actually working? Is it legitimate? And people look at me and go, holy Leah, like between November and now, like you look healthier, your skin's better, your teeth are awesome, your hair looks beautiful, you're vibrant. I'm running again, which I hadn't been doing, in 2020, really any of that stuff. So all of that mojo is back. And the only thing that's changed is that I've been taking nanostilbene.
Yeah, it's a miracle product. And also too, I was going to say something you might be interested into in your audience. So Tim has this secret cookbook, and it is like 150 like products that are not like sold. They're just like, he has a cookbook for him.
Right.
And it's something you probably want to ask him about too, because he has some crazy stuff in there. But he actually had invented a product specifically. I wanted to tell you about this one. He had invented a product specifically for my problem. I don't know if you've ever heard of hidradenitis suppurativa.
No, what is that?
For anybody out there that has that, I'm so sorry, because it's so horrible. And there's actually not much done for hidradenitis suppurativa. And I was going to tell Tim we should probably try to do some research and get this product out, because it helped me so much. So hidradenitis suppurativa is this horrible condition where in areas like your armpits, or in the creases where it's like not seen by the sun. Like I luckily don't have this, but some people get it in the genital and anal region. I luckily have only had it in my armpits, but you develop these cysts and abscesses that just keep growing and growing and growing and they are so painful, and mine actually become septic, which will land me in the hospital if I don't drain it or do something about it. Right. So that's why I had a surgery on one armpit, and I have scars all over my armpits from them cutting them open. But Tim made me a product, and he was like, take this. And ever since I started taking Tim's product, and also they've been lasering my armpits too, but ever since I took the product, I haven't gotten any of those abscesses.
Wow.
Wow. And I forgot exactly what he put in it. I remember it was something derived from the skin of grapes, but I forgot, just because.
Well, when we get him on the next time, we'll have to. I'll ask him. I'll quiz him, because that might be something that.
Yeah, just ask him what did you make, or what did you put in Serena's special nutraceutical for her. Just say armpit problem.
Right.
That's easy to remember.
Right. Yeah. And so another question I would ask him is, are any of the products that you're currently marketing close to the formula of the thing that he gave you to deal with that? And is it, one of the things too, I'm curious about is whether or not when you get your system cleaned up, if you just get on the Quadrimune, if you can keep your system clean that way, and then it cleans up all of that.
The Quadrimune is like, I'd say that's an always thing. Me personally, I would say the products to take all the time is Nano and Quadrimune combined, because then you're like on the Superman formula basically. But at the very least Quadrimune. So if you're doing that, that's a good way.
Yeah. And if you've got arthritis or pain in your body, so do you use that 𝙠𝙤𝙩𝙩𝙡? Do you use that one yourself?
Yes, I personally do because like, for example, I get really bad neck cramps, like, when you wake up with neck. So I spray that and it actually really helps me. And then, funny story at the TSOI office or satellite office in Oceanside, me and Linda Dixon,
Yes.
which is Tim's wife, we were, just doing our work, and some guy walks in from the jujitsu place like a few doors down. He's like, I've always seen this place, and like, what do you guys make? We were just telling him about stuff, and then he was like, yeah, I have this like this disc problem. I don't know what it was. He had a herniated disc, or I don't know what it was. It was something wrong with his neck though, a disc. And Linda was like, oh, well, here, try this. And we sprayed it on him. And he was like, and like a few minutes later, he's talking to us. He's like, oh my God, my neck. He's like, it doesn't really hurt right now. And then he's like, oh my God, like I need to get a bottle of that. And then Linda is such a sweetheart, just gave him the bottle. And it's like, yeah, like if you have any friends or something, or, anybody that wants the products, just send them to us. But yeah, we gave him a bottle because of his neck was in so much pain, but then our stuff literally helped him instantly.
Right. So this stuff is really going to speak to people who are athletic. And agreed. That is jujitsu's, MMA people who play hockey, football, lacrosse, badminton, basketball, volleyball, track and field, any of it. There is injuries and soreness in your physical body. A lot of people suffer and think that there's no solution to these things, or that it's a painful solution. And so this whole idea of just being able to spray something on and having pretty immediate relief, I say, what's the loss? Like, what's the harm in giving it a try? Because I think that's people's resistance to it, goes, oh, I'm not going to try that stuff. But what's the loss? I mean, if you try something and it doesn't work, then you will have missed out on something. But if you don't try it and you could have had a solution, then you miss out on having either pain reduced dramatically in your body. And what would that mean to your life? Like if you didn't actually have a sore neck, if you weren't waking up thinking about your body aching all the time, your hands, I know a lot of people complain about hands aching, knees aching, hips aching. And so if that was your life experience every day, when you wake up, you're in some kind of pain in your body, you're not free to move. You're not free to, leave your house. You're not free to socialize. And it is really limiting, even in the things you choose to do in your day-to-day activities. So thanks for sharing that, Serena. Because again, these nutraceutical products aren't just for people who are 60 years old, which I think is another fallacy. There's people taking nutraceuticals at a very young age in order to help them to regain this lost health and well-being. And so if you're somebody who's been suffering with pain in your body, fatigue, some of these very I'm going to call them far out conditions, because they're not normal conditions for the normal population. You may just want to tap into the nutraceuticals that you can find on masteryourlife.ca. Serena, thank you so much for being my guest. Any final words for the audience? Any final words?
I'd say, if you're struggling, like I said, master your life, like you say, be your own curator. And definitely if you're struggling with anything we've been talking about, or just generally want to just be a healthier person, I would say definitely try out some of the products at Community Shield, because it's really impacted my life and everybody around me for sure.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much again for being my guest. Everyone, if you have anything that's a condition you would like us to talk more about on the show, again, you can send an email to us by going to masteryourlife.ca. Love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. That's all for us. Bye for now.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.